Hey there, Dream Chasers. This is Hannah Pryde, and welcome to Pryde Shine, the podcast where we explore the innovators and influencers of Dubai. Proudly sponsored by Pryde Migration, your dedicated partner to make Dubai your reality. Welcome to the show, Yulia, founder of my favourite class in Dubai. Everyone will know, Karve. Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course, thank you so much, Hannah. I'm so happy to be here, and you caught me right on time.
I know.
While I'm here on my trip.
I honestly emailed her because I'm at Karve every single day. I was just telling Yulia. I emailed them. I was like, who's the owner of this? I need to find out the story because, as everyone knows, I'm obsessed with it. But yeah, how did you start? Obviously, you started Karve during COVID, which, let's touch on that. How did you even come up with the idea to start social media and bring on a Pilates class?
I think it was such a mixture of things. I've been an avid fan of boutique fitness since I remember those days of, places opening in London. And I was like, why am I sweating at the gym? I'm not even being motivated.
Yeah.
What is it? There's an hour and a half of going from one equipment to another. And then you just, next day you sometimes don't even feel it.
Yeah.
So I was very much like, wow, it does work.
Yeah.
It kind of keeps people in the community. And then I started traveling. Then my boyfriend, now husband, we basically together, we moved to New York for a bit.
Oh, wow.
And, then I dove into another level of boutique fitness, all these soul cycles and this. And I was like, wow. And then, as you start exploring, you find stuff that works for your body. Mm-hmm. And I swear I was my fittest probably there when I did this dynamic, crazy reformer Pilates and then mix it with a bit of yoga. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that experience, I want to bring it to London. Uh-huh. And at that time I was still in fashion. I used to do fashion for 10 years with my sister. And I mean, I love it and I still like fashion, but I was like, I just want something that just brings good for people, sustainable, that people need, and it's healthy. And that's how idea came up. And then COVID hit us. So I was like, just do that, bring it all together, doing commercial estate shopping and all of that. And then boom, and you're like, okay, this kind of delays me. So we had to go back and try to still put some presence for Karve online, but doing on-demand classes. So we did a lot during COVID. A lot of people were during the lockdown at home. So we used the gliders.
Wow. And
that's how we started. We used the gliders at home. We did a lot of challenges. We did a lot of lives. I mixed it up with biohacking, interviews, and it was amazing because people were just craving some sort of communication community.
100%, especially at that time.
And it was tough. To be honest, going back, I'm like, don't miss gliders, kind of, because they're even harder than the actual machine. Yeah. So, and the minute we could open, we did. So May 2021, Karve was open in Kensington, and people just started going. Literally, because they just missed being around people. And I know there was a lot of restrictions, masks, this. But we made it work.
Do you know what? It's such a great story because I think when we look back to now, I think, see, during COVID, everyone was so healthy. Everyone was really looking after themselves and wanted to be part of the community. They didn't care as long as they got somewhere. And honestly, people that haven't tried Karve, try it because I can't imagine doing that with a mask on. I'd be
hard. No. You would get in the mask and then you would take it off next to your machine. And then as soon as you go out in the communal spaces, but it is hard. You just do need to control your breathing and everything.
That's so crazy that you take your mask off to put it at the side, but you had to put it back on once you were done.
I know.
These rules, why did you listen to that?
I mean, sometimes people listen, some people didn't. I don't know. It kind of you couldn't go around it. You were kind of being controlled, and if you wanted to open, you had to play by the rules. So we did it, and then thank God at some point the masks were off, people were allowed to sit, have coffees, and that's how the community actually managed to grow.
I mean, you've done so well building the community, and I think we've spoken about it before. Karve is a club, it is Karve Club, but it really does feel like the club with the whole social aspect and the networking. How did you form that? Where did that why come from? Because obviously you said you went to New York, you wanted a transformation, and it does really give that New York vibe, especially with the music and everything. But what made you really focus on the community aspect of Karve?
I think it kind of all fell into place because I think everybody has their own, let's say, sometimes you work with clubs that have many things inside it. And I think when you go to places, you have your favorite yoga place, you have your favorite Pilates place, you have your favorite biohacking place, and people want to belong everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think for me it was like, no, I'm just going to focus on one thing, make it the best version I can, and I'm not going to try to dilute it, because at some point, you know, we were trying to introduce a bit of stretching and we realized that the amount of effort you put into another project inside your project is just has to be the same, has to match it, because otherwise you're still going to be known for Karve, and then you got stretching as a side thing. So we just said, you know what, we're going to put all the effort into Karve, into the machine as you know it, and then obviously, you know, I didn't want to give people too much, because 15 minutes, if you want to give 15 minutes to a class, it means you're a busy person. You don't have time to shop around for too many things. It's very intentional, like what we put in Karve. It's very like, I know I have my own values. I'm very like holistic when it comes to things. I'm very much like, I'm just going to have whatever people actually need, like all the necessities. You know, we've tried with a few things, not everything worked. We're like, okay, people need coffee, water, you know, shakes, and they're good to go. Like a bit of, you know, merchandise. But
the
people,
socks, I'm there all the time buying them because I forget them.
And now we've got the ones that you just use without the grip, so I'll wear them all the time. But like just the necessities. But I think our days are so busy, and if you try to put too many things in, people either just don't pay attention to it, and then you made the effort, or it's like trying to diversify it, but you're just giving people like too much choice. And that's why I'm like, for me, intentional things are the most important. You've got Karve, you know, our DNA is still Karve, it's still the workout, and you've got all these like things that are necessities that are around you, still trying to get the best snack bars that are healthy. It's still on the search for those, because people are like, I just want something, I feel a bit peckish. So but I don't want to kind of expand it into something more, or into different like sort of activity. And then I guess when it comes to community, people were drawn to it because they will still have their best place for something else. So it's not like some people just do Karve, but you have people that still weight train, that you have people that can still do cycling, they can do running, anything. Like we're not really like, it's a non-competitive industry.
I think, do you know what, you've hit the nail on the head in two things. One, that you've really focused in and had the niche with just the necessities around it. Because I know, and we spoke about this before, like I've gone to so many different Pilates classes, but I would maybe like be an hour late, a meeting's handover, and then I'd miss it for the day, and that's me not going to Pilates. Where what you've got so well, especially in Dubai, because everyone's flexible, everyone's schedule is so flexible and changes so quickly, that the best thing about Karve, and the reason I've ended up getting the membership, is like, if I miss class, there's one half an hour later, or an hour later, or there's one in the afternoon, there's one at every single possible time. And the other thing which I love is, I was speaking to one of your instructors, and they went, oh, message this person for stretching. And I think that's where a lot of the gyms lack. A lot of the gyms want to be a one-fit all in Dubai, but then they end up missing the key points. So then they're like, oh, we can do it all. Whereas Karve got it bang on when she was like, if you need to go stretch, go to this class. If you need to go to this one, go to that one. And I think that's where the people that are successful, or the brands that are successful in Dubai, they're so good at collaborating. They're so good at being like, this person's really good for that, so go there. We're good at transformations through Pilates with a little bit of endurance through it, I guess. But that's all we know, and that's what we're good at, but we'll recommend you to the next person. And that's one thing that I think Karve's the best for.
Oh, 100%. I think, like, you know what, I wish everybody to succeed. And to be honest, like, sometimes I specifically look for places that have a different gym with a different concept next to it, because we're not like a competitive business. Like, we are soon opening next to like a boxing studio.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, you'll do both. It's not like you're going to do one or the other. You'll do both. Or the same with yoga. You will do both. It's not like you replacing everything. Like, some people might want to, I think some people quit their, let's say, gyms and then join Karve, and then they're like, you know what, maybe that works for them, but they didn't quit their yogas, they didn't quit their other like workouts that they do. They still do running, they still, you know, do the walks, the stretching, everything. So for us, it's mainly for people that want kind of like 15-minute workout, done and dusted. It's always full body. We don't go for like, let's do, you know, just upper body today and abs. No, you know, whatever workout you go to, whatever person you go to, it will be a full Karve experience, from the, you know, from the warm up to the full body workout, to a bit of stretching and a bit of like zen in the end, and you want to go out feeling like fulfilled in every way. Like
you will be rattling through the class, and I can vouch for it. And you know another thing that I love about Karve, as I said, always love Pilates. Karve is the only Pilates studio ever that has like a full mixture of boys and girls. I have been into classes where there's more boys than girls. There's a complete split, and I think that's unreal because that just shows how hard it is. Whereas sometimes, obviously boys are now getting on the trend, but sometimes they're going like, oh, it's not hard. I've taken many boys to Karve and they honestly rattle like, and I'm like, I told you, it's a different type of workout. It's wild. What have you seen as the main differences between, obviously you set up in London, you've expanded to Dubai. What have you seen as the main differences as the consumer?
Clientele.
Really?
Very demanding here.
Really?
In general. I think in general, people here, I think it's a bit more luxury, Dubai in general, in like all the fields. And even if you look at the restaurants that are either franchises or that had opened here post Europe, you can even see like the fit out is a bit more luxurious. And it's just, I guess, the allure about Dubai and the standards here are higher, especially when it comes to like expectations. Like I'd say in terms of the like clientele that we get here, they're expecting more. For example, a lot of our reviews are based on people being late. And here, I think it's a norm being late here.
Oh my goodness, it's
and
so
people
normal.
expect you to bend the rules a bit too much. And you're like, well, you were late. You're complaining about you being late and you admit it. And then how are we to blame? Because I have my business to protect. I have my trainers to protect because it's on them. If, you know, the person didn't do the introduction, if they, God forbid, fall or anything, that's on my instructor. And I have to protect them. You know, I can't just let people in, first timers, not seeing the machine. It's a dog studio, you know it all, you know, disturbing. They don't have the time, the trainers don't even have the time to show them around.
100%.
But they insist because I think all the other businesses do allow it.
100%. And do you know what? I was actually speaking to another business owner about it, and I think you've done the best thing you can in Dubai because everyone's late, but you obviously have to take accountability for it. And I know how hard it is within Karve that if someone came out, I probably would distract and fall off the machine. Like, bloody hell, I'm nearly falling off the sheet most mornings. It's so hard. But I said to someone, like, I pay a fortune for Karve. Let's say if you convert it into UK, it's probably just under £400, which is a lot of money per month. But I make sure that I turn up because it is that expensive. Whereas if I was probably paying £100, £200 even, I would be like, oh, it's fine, I'll just go to the next one. So you have that like stick. But then if I miss it, I'm then charged £18 for missing it. If I forget my socks, oh, we're going to be charged £11 for new socks or 65 dirhams. But it makes you not forget your socks. It makes you not be late, and it makes you show up because you're like, I've booked it now. I've already committed to it. So I guess, like, I think in Dubai, people probably maybe listen to that, like, that's absolutely obscene. But when you look at gym memberships as a whole and how busy you are and everything else, like, it isn't that obscene, but it's enough to make you go. Whereas if some things are too cheap or too lean, or if I could just turn up 5 minutes, I probably would because I can take the piss. Whereas I know I will always be there on time. Even if I have to wait half an hour for the next class, I'm not going. And I think that's where a lot of businesses in Dubai probably need to be that stricter, like, to get the results and to make sure people show up. Because I've been to Pilates studios and I've rocked in 15 minutes late, been like, shit, just woken up. And then people are still doing the full lesson even 15 minutes before it ends. So I think having that strict routine in Dubai really works with the culture here because you're dealing with so many nationalities that think they all have a different variant of what time is, I guess. Some people are really early, some nationalities, some people are really late, some people are bang on time. But having the rules that fit your business ensure people show up at the time they need to be.
But also don't forget that, for example, if people have a full membership here, they can actually use it in London. So we work as a group.
100%.
You know, we cannot have certain rules here and different rules over there because the clients will be like, why is it different? But it's actually amazing to see, like, one of our client friends, she was in Dubai with her fiance and she was like doing the whole video of, oh, better get out now. You know, if you come to Karve, if you're late, they won't wait. Like, people know, and it's like, we're appreciative. It's just the newbies. It's hard for them to comprehend it just purely because other businesses will allow that. And I think that's why we struggle. If all the businesses kind of like got together and be like, you know, these are the rules, stick to them. And then the funniest thing is when they're trying to teach you a lesson, you're like, if you do not, adjust to Dubai rules, you're not going to make it. And I'm like, that sounds like a threat, but, I'll take it with a pinch of salt. And you try to be nice. And sometimes, if it's definitely emergency, not their fault, we try to rebook. We are kind of there to show some support. But if it's a constant thing, then you're like, okay, maybe Karve is not for you.
Of course. And the thing is, I've gone to Karve for long enough now that I think it's actually getting busier because more people abide by the rules and they see the transformation. Fair enough, when you first opened, it was probably that little bit quieter. But now, last week I couldn't get class once. Every single one was joined waitlist. But obviously it's Eid reduced times. But it just shows people see the transformation and they respect it. So I think these people in Dubai, and it happens in every business, the people that say if you don't abide by the rules, no, you fit in or fuck off. Either we're for you or not. There's 100 in different studios, but these are our rules, so fit with them. And I think a lot of business owners listening to this will probably take appreciation for their own business model if they're especially trying to move to Dubai and set up a gym. When there's so many competitions, you've obviously, or Karve as a whole, have got strict rules, and that's what makes you stand out for the crowd.
But you also, as a business owner, your team, they see you and they thank you because you're protecting them, because it's them that, the front of house sometimes won't agree with it because they have to deal with the angry customers, but they're doing a fantastic job, to be honest. But it is the trainers that will say thank you, because I didn't have to sort of pay extra attention to that new person that came in. It messed up my routine, it messed up my playlist, whatever it is. They feel like you have their backs.
Of course.
So they, I think from my side, I try to be in both shoes as a client and as a trainer. You can't please both, but you sort of try.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I think that's with any business. You can never please anyone. And I think especially it's interesting for any business looking to move across border. It's very hard to deal with the clientele in Dubai because it's so many nationalities. Whereas I think at least in the UK, you've got a dominance of British people that all kind of go by the same rules. They're normally quite on time. But when you grow a business and it's complete different structure.
No, actually in the beginning I remember we were flooded with the same reviews. To be honest, and it taught them it took some time, but they got there.
Oh, really?
Now they know it. And to be honest, in London, it's a very mixed clientele. Obviously, you've got British people, you've got people from the Middle East. It's very, European, very mixed as well. And it's just whatever they've been used to.
Yeah.
It just depends what clubs they go to. But to be honest, sometimes I'm running late. And then I would call up sometimes or look at their policy. If they would allow me to be 5-10 minutes late, I'll be like, okay, you know what? I'll manage it.
Yeah.
Or if not, then I'll try, can I book it into the other class? Do you have space? But I'm not going to just have this entitlement of showing up and be you must let me in. You kind of become aware, maybe because of Karve, but...
Yeah, you need to compromise, I guess, and I do that, to be honest, all the time. As I said, I now normally book when I'm there. I've been like, hi, I've arrived now. What class can I get into? And it's great. There's so many shops around it. Obviously, you said you went to New York, you got the idea, you set up in London. What was the hardest thing, integrating a gym? Because everyone obviously opens gyms. It's not easy. Everyone's got a different concept. But what has been your hardest thing, obviously, setting up a gym? Was it training staff? Was it the design? Was it coming up with a workout?
I think human element always works.
Yeah.
I think because people, obviously, they have different natures.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I've been pretty lucky. I think whoever worked or still working for the company, because you do kind of create that atmosphere. I'm not just for clients, I want you to grow within the business as well. And that's kind of the approach I think we take within the business, and people that work at Karve, they do appreciate it because they know there's growth within Karve, the trainers that become, took other positions in the business, and they know also now they can travel, they can come to Dubai. We've opened some, licensed businesses. We have one also in Jeddah. We're opening a franchise in Athens soon, and then a few more in the pipeline, and more in London. So they know they have quite a lot of opportunities if they ever wanted to move to Athens. They can work there. So I feel like although the human element is always unpredictable, I love it. Yeah. And it's it's very a natural thing. And I love that growth of people, and actually you see the fire in the eyes when they when they succeed in getting the event, so apart from that, I guess it's in general we had been quite lucky with the time that we opened, just because people were just so fed up with doing online, at home, exercise, and we just, and I guess the area that we opened in Kensington is very much residential.
It's gorgeous.
So have you been
I've not been to the actual Karve, but I know the locations. Obviously, when you coming on, I was looking at all the locations.
Kensington,
Touching on that, how did you choose your locations?
Very much lucky, because I was very much in between sort of Fitzrovia and Kensington. And I don't know, something happened that, Kensington just worked, and obviously had to put it on hold for a while. And I'm blessed because it's a residential area. So we kind of try to go for more residential area, for more community centered. So we want to be a part of community. Then the third one is opening roundabout like Victoria, not far from like Belgravia side, Pimlico. So it's also, I guess, because the way people work these days had changed. Not many people go to offices every day. It's mostly like 3-4 times a week. So some areas, they don't get the traffic as they used to. So we do try to pick based on the community. And the same with Al Serkal. Al Serkal had been in our radar for a while, and we almost took a different spot.
Really?
It was inside one of the shopping malls. And then, actually a friend of mine from childhood, she works in this industry. She was like, Yulia, this came up. I'm like, what? Great, let's just explore.
It's the perfect location, especially for everyone that knows Dubai or hasn't been to Dubai. They'll not really know that area, and then when you go there, it's so artsy, little independent restaurants, especially for Karve's first location. If people didn't think Karve was a franchise, you would just think it's a boutique, edgy Pilates studio. So I think anyone coming to Dubai definitely should check out Karve here, because the location, I send people there all the time for all the little farmers markets on a Saturday and Sunday. It's just not what people expect.
Well, the one here actually is not a franchise. The one here is ours. So it's only we do the Jeddah is a licensee, and then we have one franchise in Athens coming up. So the rest is all our own.
Right.
Yes.
I didn't know if that
I was
was
no, Al Serkal. It was
It's
the
perfect.
dream. It's been the dream.
Especially, you said you'd be coming to Dubai for 20 years, so you've seen it all being built up and the difference of it. So I bet coming to Dubai was a bit like a big achievement, a tick, your childhood holiday destination.
Oh, I know. Making it a closer to home, for sure.
Yeah, amazing. And what would be your biggest bit of advice for anyone looking to set up a business in Dubai, especially if they're not based here? You obviously travel between here and London. What would be your biggest bit of advice for people that are doing it on that way?
Have someone who's based here.
Yeah.
And that you consider either your best friend or just a great advisor, because my sister, one of my sisters, she lives here, so she helped absolutely. She was a legend, helping setting it up. So that would be probably my best advice, because you will need somebody on the grounds running, just depending how many times a year you can come here, and just somebody you can trust, and don't underestimate the level of municipality engagement that will need to be put into place, because obviously you start building something, you think 6 months this and that, and then things get delayed. So do not be discouraged. Things here do take time, and I guess Dubai has its upsides, but it also has the longest wait sometimes with some things.
I think everyone underestimates how long it's going to take to get the approvals, to do your business setup. I'm just going to set up a business. I'm wait until you've tried to do everything else. But I think it's managing you're managing your expectations of the time frame. I can't speak time frame, and then you're absolutely fine. You've obviously done an unbelievable job at creating this community. What is the next goal for Karve over the next 5 years?
So for Karve, just keep on growing, and we obviously want to have a few more in Europe as well done, and we have Germany in the pipeline. So we want to go into Europe and obviously expand more in the UK, and then the best way for the places that I kind of have some sort of grasp on, or have partners, family, friends, I'm happy to expand on our own. And obviously, if we do have great partners franchise opportunities around the world, happy to do that too, because we do use the franchise, when you sell it, it does give you quite a good investment as well. So it's kind of you use that funding to expand, keep growing. But I guess in general, just make, we're still working, like we're still new business, to be honest. Even we've been open almost 4 years, we're still quite new.
It's a new business.
We're still we're still trying to kind of organize and structure. We just had a new manager here. We didn't actually have a proper manager here before. We had a lot of fantastic people doing bits and pieces, and my sister's helping a lot, but now we got a manager here. We call them studio leads. So kind of having that attention to every local studio, but also growing more on the corporate level. Because it does take, like, you know, as I said, we do try to develop as a group. It's not like one rule here, another there, and just to make sure even everybody follows it.
I think
it's
that's
a job.
Yeah, genuinely, and I think that's the key, but also the hardest part. People very much try to set up the business, but especially when you start growing your business or you're ever looking to sell the business, it's very hard to have like one rule fits all, especially cross borders, and when you're maybe not as hands-on as you might have been in your London one because it was on down the doorstep. And it's been able to be that transformational leader and flexible leader that's also adaptable to be like, I can be there, but you need to stick to our rules and like listen to it. Probably a lot of people will take good advice from that because they've never heard, or they've obviously found it hard, could find it hard to do so.
Yeah, you do things, you know, what, in the beginning you open something, you're kind of like doing everything, but then you have to delegate. You have to find people that you trust, and then just you have to stay in touch with them. So it's like, I'm not the most organized person in the world, so just have the advice, listen to advice when you need one, and and then have the people, like, literally, like, vet people, you know, and select the best people for the job. And that's probably going to be the good advice, something I'm still learning from.
Do you know what? All entrepreneurs, they're all learning as they go, and I think that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur. You don't know everything, but as long as you're happy to take the feedback on board, you can get there pretty fast, 1000%. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was great to hear your story, and I can't wait to see where Karve is in the next 5 years.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you for being like a long carver. And,
I love it.
I know.
Everyone go.
Oh, thank you, Hannah.